Welcome to After Hours Conversations with Veronica. I am so excited that we get to speak to Thelanna Celestaine. Thelanna, welcome.
Thanks, Veronica. Happy to
I'm
be
ex-
here.
I have been looking forward to this. So for those of you who can't possibly know, I have been following Thelanna. I'm not saying like stalking, but I love crafting and I love everything tied to it. And she is able to do things I can only dream about doing. So yes, I do follow her on Instagram. And at one point, she was actually filming every day. Did you have a 30-day challenge? Was that your challenge?
I think it was 30 days. Yeah.
30 days. She had music, y'all. She had music and painting and just making things and it gave me life, right? After working on projects and I love projects, but sometimes need a little bit of a break. And I'm not nerd, so when I break, I just look at another type of project.
There you go.
And that's what she gave me. And it was everything. Okay, so I want you to hear it directly from her. Thelanna, tell us about yourself. What have you been doing and why in the world have I been following you on Instagram?
So I am an educator by day. I'm also a crafter and I sew. So when I'm not teaching and I have downtime, I spend a lot of that time on creative projects. So what Veronica saw was like a 30-day period where I kind of challenged myself to just go and put myself out there so that I could be seen. I was exposing my work to people, and so for 30 days, I just painted. I just turned on my camera and put some music on and I painted. And if people came in, I chatted with them. And nobody came in, I probably sang along with the music a little bit more and just entertained myself. And just did that for 30 days. Yeah.
Now you have something absolutely gorgeous behind you. Did you make that?
This whole thing. It's not finished yet. It's a work in progress. I'm
Mhm.
not sure if it really wants to be a dress. It might want to be a skirt or something else. We'll see. Still working with it. So yeah.
Now, Charming Piranha, that's
Yes.
your LLC.
Yes.
I know that you do handcrafting, but I'll also say that these COVID times have changed up some things. Now, have you made things tied to COVID? Is that something that you're into, or have you moved away?
I have made quite a few masks. I think well, I know for a fact, I looked at my stats. This year, the masks were the biggest selling item in my shop.
Mhm.
And yeah. So, yes, I have made something COVID related, and it was those fabric cotton masks.
Okay.
Lots and lots
Now,
of them.
I have one. I have one. Yes, I do, and it's gorgeous, and I love it. When we think of projects, we have a tendency to only think of them through our frame of reference. So our listeners that are focusing in on corporate type of things, when they think of a project manager, they have a tendency to just think of, stats and metrics and making sure that everyone else is doing what they need to do. But that's not everything that's tied to projects. Projects is really a way of thinking to make sure that you're taking your steps from inception to delivery, whatever that project happens to be. Have you always known that you've been a project manager, or is this a new epiphany that has taken place?
Not at all. I used to think of the things I needed to accomplish as my to do list. And I would get really frustrated because I wasn't knocking things off the to do list as fast as I wanted to. When I would write down 5 things, I think that's 5 tasks. And what I wasn't seeing is that one of those tasks is actually a project. So if I have an order for 10 masks and I write down make 10 masks, I'm really fooling myself and I'm setting myself up for frustration. What that actually is a project. So I have to look at the steps, pick out the fabrics, prep them, cut, prepare for sewing, sew them, do the final finishing, package them up. Those are all steps that need to be accomplished. So I've come to think of what I do more as a series of projects instead of just, a few little tasks I need to tick off.
And there might be different requirements for each mask,
Yes. There were
right?
different sizes, different fabrics. Yes, definitely.
Right, because I know that I don't have a little head. Not to say that I said, can you make my mask a little bit bigger? I didn't say that, but I was hoping you just seeing me, something in your mind said, I can't make her a child mask. A child mask is not going to work out. And so we have different requirements. Now, do you primarily, like, how did you start off? Were you making things for other people, or was it that, you know what, I kind of like to sew, so I'm just going to focus in on making things for me? How did your greatness begin?
Oh my greatness. I actually I would just make things for me. And that was clothing, crafts, home decor things I would just make for myself. And I guess the turning point was when a friend of mine got married a few years ago. She had a theme for her wedding. The theme was P.S. I Love You, based on the movie. So the wedding favor she was going to create was a set of little note cards that the guests could take away and, write notes to a loved one or, send them in the mail, whatever. And she told me her idea, and I felt like it was too simple, and I kind of took over and came up with a set that we were both really happy with. And people were like, what is this? And, we explained, and they're like, oh, so it was something that was exciting for me. I had never done anything on that scale. And at around the same time, that was when I started a shop on Etsy and started selling stationery there. And then later on, I added some other things that I was sewing, like lanyards and keyring pouches and things like that, some hand carved stamps. So it just kind of expanded from there. But it started with those wedding favors, actually.
Wedding favors, wedding
Yeah.
favors. So if you were saying, I'm going to start making something for myself, and then you're like, I love this, I bet someone else would love it too. Is that how it transitions into something that you might be selling in your shop?
Yes, that can happen. When I did the masks, I made one for myself. And I spent some time like tweaking designs and trying different people's patterns and things like that. And then I found out other people needed them. I just take for granted that everybody has a sewing machine that they will pull out at any given moment and whip up whatever they need, because that's how it was when I grew up in my house, or, and my grandmother sewed too. But it turns out that is not reality. So the big box stores, nobody was really selling masks. They were selling out of them. So at that time, it was something I created for myself, and it was also something there was a need for. So I shared the wealth in a way.
And I'm so happy you did.
Me
I'm so happy you
too.
did. Now, when you're putting something together, so in the project management world, a lot of times we're actually getting requirements from other people. It sounds like most things are coming from, and please tell me if I am not right, they come from what makes you happy, and then you see if it'll make someone else happy too. When it's tied to the requirements side of things, we usually are getting requirements from someone else, not something that is coming from us. So we actually have to reach out and figure out what their likes and their dislikes are. Is there any tailoring? When will you use this? When do you need it by? Things like that. Do you have to still wrestle with those types of things, even though the first idea is coming from you?
Well, I have done some custom orders before. And in any kind of creative work, if someone commissions work from you, whether you're an artist or fashion designer, or in my case, I was making invitations for an event, it always has to look like my work. Like you always want it to represent you, represent your work, but you want to meet the needs of your client at the same time. So, in the case of the invitations I mentioned, I created an invitation that was my style. The artwork was mine, the content of the invitation was the event organizers. And I let her pick things like the fonts and the colors and things like that. So it was more of a collaboration. But at the end of the day, if she had said, no, I want it to be neon yellow and I don't like that masquerade mask, I want you to make, a hockey mask or something, then I would have had to end the talk
Mhm.
because I don't want to put anything out there that misrepresents my aesthetic.
I love that. I love that. And a lot of us have a really hard time with that. I'm not saying that we're all people pleasers, but a lot of us are, and we have a hard time pushing back. You know what? I said we. I'm totally misleading you. I don't have any problems pushing back. I can say nope. Thank you so much for asking. I appreciate all the effort that you've put in up until this time, but this is not working for me. A lot of PMs, though, they really want to make sure that that particular client or that particular stakeholder feels as though we have done their vision.
Mm-hmm.
But there have been times earlier in my career that I did that. I did that, and it did not work out well. It did not work out well. I was thinking that I was doing everything that they wanted. And then conversations were had where it came out that they said, well, no, you actually didn't provide me with what I wanted, and we have to make some adjustment there. And then change control documents started flying and all these different things took place. Have you
Mm-hmm.
ever tried to work with a client, do what they felt as though they wanted to happen, but because you didn't stay true to what you thought should take place, it didn't work out the way that you wanted it to? Now, it's possible that that's never happened.
Mm-hmm.
But just in case, has that ever happened? And what could you tell our viewers that they could potentially do if they experience something like that?
I think, well, what you're describing, it reminds me of an experience I had at a restaurant once. I was in Miami and I went to a Cuban restaurant and I ordered something off the menu and the waiter said, "You're not going to like that." And I'm thinking, you don't know me. You don't know what I'm going to like. So I ordered it. I did not like it. And what I took away from that is he's the expert. He's probably seen so many people come through there that he knows by looking at you, or listening to your accent, what your palate might be like, what you can tolerate, what you can't, what's a little too authentically Cuban for you, what have you. And he can tell you, you're probably not going to like that, but you might like this instead. And I think as whenever you're a project manager or you're just collaborating with someone, you really have to sometimes educate the client about something. So if they ask you to do something and it's just a matter of process and they think they want it done a certain way, but you know for a fact that that is inefficient or it's not going to get the results they want, you can educate them and say, I think this is not going to work for you. So in my case, I think my situation's a little different because if someone comes to me with something that they want done, they've come to me because they know I'm going to do something that meets their needs, even if we don't share the same vision. So I had a caterer that I know, she has had me embroider aprons for her before with just her company name on them, really simple. And she gave me some thread, she gave me the aprons, and I didn't like the color combination. And I said, "Are you sure about this color?" And she said, "Yes." At that point, we had decided on a font I was comfortable with. The design was going to work out. I just went with it. And she was right. She knew the color scheme that she wanted and it worked. Another item she wanted me to embroider, the embroidery would have been too big and it wouldn't have flowed. It didn't suit the garment. And I said, this isn't going to work out the way you think it is. You'd be better if you just got a little name tag. And she said, okay. So when you have a client that, in her case, I feel like we have a good rapport. So when you have someone that you have a good rapport with, you're going to trust each other's judgment. You're going to pick your, I don't want to say battles because it shouldn't be a battle, but for lack of a better word, you're going to pick your battles and just know that sometimes they're going to want what they want and you have a choice of giving it to them or not. And sometimes you're going to know something they don't know. And it's your job to really explain it to them in a way that's going to make sense so that they can make a sound decision.
So really listening, but then sharing what you know in a way that they can receive it.
Yes.
To actually help you get to the end result and probably cause you to not be frustrated while you're putting something together where you might be saying, this is never going to work. This is just not going to work out, but I'll do it.
Right.
So if you're moving in that direction and it does work out well, tell me what your best project has been where not only the client has been happy, but you're like, I love that. That's everything. Tell me what that looked like.
I think the invitations that I mentioned, that was like my favorite thing. That was an early custom order where I kind of took the reins in terms of the creativity, and the client just picked a few details. So when they came out, it was one of those projects where I was like, I did that. That was me. I did that. I did that. First you're like in disbelief and you're like, no, I did that. That was me. I do this. So that was a big one for me. That was early on in my having a business, and it made me see that like there are a lot of possibilities that I wasn't aware of before. It was a situation where someone I knew somebody who needed something and they called me and we worked it out and it came out beautifully. I wasn't there when she opened the box, but I heard that she was very excited. So it was a win-win all the way around. And that was kind of the dream situation working with a client. You want everybody to be pleased with the result, and we all were. So
Understood. Now when I witness you doing things like I'm telling y'all that 30 days was everything. When it popped up on my IG, I said, oh, she's fixing to do it. Let me go and log in, because we may not have the sewing machine that Thelanna was talking about. But I tell you what, I did get some things for my iPad, and I said, I can at least do this. This is something that brings me joy, and quite frankly, seeing Thelanna talk about the different things that she does and that I can tell that she's looking forward to doing this. Like, she might have been working all day long, but it's as if there is something that she's looking forward to doing. To me, that's inspiring. That's inspiring. Even though we might not be the ones making sure that someone else is getting something done, by others looking at us and seeing what that life could be, it pulls other people in. It's just how it works. And so when we run our projects, sometimes there's a certain type of person that we pull in. A lot of us in project management call it the red velvet rope. So we have that red velvet rope. I'm not for everybody, but for the ones that get it, I am for them. Have you been able to identify who your ideals are, people who actually really get what it is that you do? Are they primarily women, or do you have men that are logging And two, what does that look like for you?
Looking at my customer stats and my like Instagram insights, it looks like most of the people that connect with my work are women.
Okay.
I
Okay.
don't know all the age details, but on social media, we're looking at like 20s to 50s maybe. That's who's really looking at what I do the most.
Understood. Have you noticed that there was any bias whatsoever? Or is it just that this is just how that demographic is made up?
I think it's just the nature of the work. Like, women are going to look at other women's clothing differently from how men look at women's clothing. So, for example, I made mini dresses and posted them online. Most of the people who like or comment are women or like men that I know personally or I've met. One time or one or two times I made pants or leggings and I took a picture just in the mirror of the leggings and more men commented on those or liked, and it's just what I do. It's not meant to be, it's not something that I think men would appreciate the same way a woman would appreciate. Oh, you made a dress and it has pockets. Women would be into that. Or, yes, pockets. Or, you're plus size and short and you figured out the proportions to make that dress look right on you. That's something that women would be interested in. A lot of the things that are in my shop are things that women are more likely to buy just because of the fabrics or the designs, what have you. But there are some men who do buy those things as well, but I've just found that most of the customers are women. I don't know that there's any bias involved necessarily. It's just things appeal to who they appeal to. I wasn't really targeting. It's just that's who, I do what looks good to me. Like, I make what looks good to me. And the people who like it also are more often women than men.
It's interesting that you mentioned pockets. So I have a son who is actually very much into fashion. Things he's been making things since he's been taking toilet paper. He'll be very, very mad at me. But he can make a dress out of toilet paper
Hmm.
because that was the only material that he had. So he would
Wow.
go and get toilet paper and he'd make these outfits and dresses. Oh my goodness, beautiful out of toilet paper.
Hmm.
When he found out that most of my pants have fake pockets in the front, he said, I am so sorry, mommy. Why don't you all have pockets? And I said, baby, I don't know. But now that I am talking to you, please, do you have any insight as to why we don't have pockets?
The faux pockets are more slimming.
So it
If
isn't
you,
function.
it's not fun. It's for looks. It's a more streamlined silhouette if there's no pocket. And when you do put a pocket into a pair of trousers, they have to be placed just so in order for the bulk of whatever's in there not to show. And a lot of women's pants, I think, especially now, they're more of a slim fit. So if you put a car key in there, everybody knows you have a car key in your pocket. And a lot of people don't want that. So they don't put them in. There's also the fact that women typically carry bags, like a tote or a purse or what have you. So we don't, in some people's eyes, we may not need pockets quite as much. But I would rather take keys out of my pocket than to dig in a big bag and find them. So when I make things that can handle a pocket, I put a pocket in there.
I love pockets. I am not a purse person. I have attempted to be a girly girl, like periodically during my life. I have tried to be that. And then I go back to me, and that is so not it. I
Mm-hmm.
want pockets. I want to be able to put things. All of my friends would laugh at me because I have a handful of things and I'll put it down on the table. Where is your purse? I said, if I had a purse, I would leave it. I would leave it. And so now I just know that everything that I need is right here. Bam, bam, bam. I'm good to go. So I want to provide you with the opportunity to ask me anything that you want. What do you want? You have a certified project management professional, agile certified practitioner in your midst.
Yes.
Ask away.
Yes. Okay. So I presently am a solopreneur. I'm doing everything myself. And it's a little crazy making sometimes, but at least I know everything's going to be done the way I want it done. But what tips do you have for solopreneurs in managing projects in their businesses?
Understood. A lot of us are that, actually. And we have a tendency to get overwhelmed because we believe that we have to do all of the things. It's as soon as we think about it, it's as if it has to get done. If not right now, now. But we could have a team, and the team is a really interesting thing. It's your calendar. I call Thursday Susie. Susie is Thursday. You can name your days of the week, whatever you would like for them to be, but those are as if you have team members. And realistically, there's only so much that you're able to get done in a given day. You would just want to prioritize what those things are so that things can continue to move forward. So if you're making something, or actually, let's just go into the idea stage. Maybe Mondays are when you just give yourself the opportunity to brainstorm and think. And your brainstorming is actually when you hold on to a thought for 17 seconds or more. It pulls more thoughts like it in. So it's as if you're brainstorming with yourself when you hold on to that thought because other ideas are going to come in. That is your time to put all of your happiness out into the world. And then you can write down what all those things are. At the end of your day, because you want to give it a break, because it needs a break, right? It's a person. So you have to give it a break. And then when you come back to it, you can prioritize all of the different things that you need to do. And that would actually tell you what it is that you'll be doing for the rest of your week. When it comes to that prioritization, you can almost think of it as quadrants, and there are 4 of them. So you have your quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. Quadrant 1, these are things I have to get done, not now, but right now. So although I just shared that idea or method, I'm sure you have other things on the back burner that you're like, you know what, I still need to get those things done. So those could be tied to your quadrant 1 or I need to get it done, not now, but right now things. Your quadrant 2 could actually come from those ideas that you put together and prioritizing what those ideas are. So you're actually able to be proactive in your quadrant 2. You're going to take a look at your week or your month at a glance tied to your quadrant 2. Your quadrant 3, these are things that other people have asked you to do. I would love to help you, but how long do you think this is going to take? So once you figure out how long it will take, then you can map out when you should do X, Y, Z. Now your quadrant 4 things, those are things that we have a tendency to procrastinate. So procrastination lives in quadrant 4. Take a look at what you've been putting off. Is it something that you don't want to do anyway? Or something that one of your clients don't really want you to do, or something that you thought you had a passion for, and you no longer have a passion for that? Put it to the side. Say, you know what? this does not live in my mind or my heart, I'm going to remove this from my list. So you're really focusing in on your quadrant 1, 2s, and 3s.
Hmm.
That's how I do it.
Brilliant.
And I would love to say that I made that up, but I did. If you've heard of Stephen Covey, Seven
Yeah.
Habits of Highly Effective People,
Okay.
that is where that comes from.
First things first. Is that what he says?
First things first, win-win, start from the end. That's what I say. That's not what Stephen says. Stephen says it so much nicer. But
Begin with the
sometimes
end
we're
in
like talking
mind.
to someone who's a rambler, and that hurts my heart. So I need for them to start from the end, please. Start from the end, and then I can help you get to where you need to be.
Right. What is your desired result?
Yes, but I'm so excited. I thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me, as well as our listeners of After Hours Conversations with Veronica. I would love for them to be able to take a look at the great work that you have been doing. Can you please tell us how we would be able to either take a look or actually make purchases so that we can be a part of Team Thelanna?
Sure. If you are already an Etsy member or you just want to look on Etsy, the name of my shop is Charming Piranha. If you want to follow me on Instagram, I'm also at Charming Piranha there. And if you want to visit my website, you can go to charmingpiranha.com.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. And to my listeners out there, I get to talk to more exciting people in season 1. Can't wait to see you later.
Goodbye.
Yay.